Welcome to the Church Explained podcast, a conversation to grow your leadership and build your church. I'm just thinking as you were building out the Sunday services and you had a real clear focus there. What sort of place did like ancient traditions and the relevance of the Bible play in those services for you? What were your services focused on?
So one of the things that we basically created a recipe. Okay, so we created a recipe of what's a great service for Victory City Church. What do we love? And we started with this idea of not what do we think they will love, what do we love? Like what service do we, if we were coming to a church, what would we want?
Yeah.
And so we came with a few things and we began to just list out. Like, here's what a powerful service that we would attend. Because my thing is, if I am creating a service for somebody else, but I don't really like it, and I'm creating it for them, I'll never own it. And I'll get tired of it. And in 2 years, I'm going to go, forget this thing. I'm going to create something new. But if I love it, then I can own it for a while until God begins to speak or, all those types of things. So one of the things was we wanted an opening song that was exciting. We wanted, like, the first song was not slow and down and contemplative, and, sometimes you open a service and it's like, oh, and I'm like, no, we're in church. Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
So that became the recipe. And every time we would come into a service planning, it was like, okay, does that song hit? Is that song exciting? Well, no, it's kind of a schmedium, but the words are good. I'm like, listen, that's great. But the recipe calls for an exciting song.
Yeah.
The next thing we did was no weird language. So in our songs, we are not going to use lyrics and language that it does not connect with a 40-year-old guy. And we picked that idea out of going like, the 40-year-old guy that's Billy Bob out in the farm or, blue collar dude, if he walks into my church, and there's a great song we just went over as a staff, and there's a line in it that says, I want to be your laid down lover. It's a worship song.
Wow.
And
That's crazy.
and I was like, why did you just pitch me this song? And they're like, cause the song is so good. And I go, bro, like, I don't want to sing to God, I want to be your laid down lover. Like, and he goes, no, but it means to lay your life down and be. I go, I know what it means. I know. It's just freaking weird.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going to ask the grown men in my church to come in and swoon to that. So again, that was a recipe for us to be evaluate. Again, one of the recipes was I never preach after announcements because of the flow. Yeah. I wanted to preach out of worship. People's hearts are ready. We come in, we bring the word. And then when it did come to announcements, it was like we announce one thing. We talk to our guests, we talk about giving, and then, hey, if you're interested, we have this. And we detailed the language, right? So like, hey, when we say this, we never say, hey, we need you, right? Right? It's never like, hey, we're not the desperate girlfriend. It's always, all of our hosting language is, hey, this is something for you, and here's how it'll benefit you. Here's how it'll grow you. With our giving, we never say take up our offering. We always say receive. Hey, we receive. We use language like thank you for your investment into the church. So they're just like key languages that we would use. We began to build out like a 3-month strategy around giving. Again, so detailing our service. Okay, is this? And so every weekend it's either a giving mention, right? So sometimes I just need 30 seconds. I'm not going to hit it for a long time. Sometimes it's a giving teaching. Okay, that's a 4-minute. Or sometimes it's a giving testimony, and that's a 3 to 4 minute. And so we began to kind of, when we looked at our services, okay, sometimes let's just mention it. Hey, there's giving available. You can do it online. There's giving boxes at the end. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. We're out. And I was super nervous because I was like, well, if we're not going to, but again, we went to the idea of like, if I'm attending a church, I'm a giver. I don't need you to do a whole spiel of why I'm going to give anyways. And then there's people who don't. And so we've got those other supplemental weekends for them. But what it began to do was we were able to talk about giving without pressuring people into giving, and our finances went up because they began attending a service that they really enjoyed. So, excuse me. So we began to just kind of detail that recipe of what a service looks like that we wanted to attend. And sometimes we don't get it right. But that really helped our whole team kind of rally around, okay, this is what we wanted to do. We went as detailed as going, like, when it comes to lighting, we don't want a bunch of movement. Like, I don't want a bunch of movement in our lighting, the splash and trash lighting. I don't want a bunch of flashing on and off because, again, I don't think people care about that as much. So it was one of those, like, we literally went just through, we did an autopsy of every element in our service. And how do we make this fit? What does this look like? How do we detail it out? And that's how we came up with our service recipe.
Wow.
So good.
Good stuff there. That's for people to think on there, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and even just that idea of doing an autopsy on your service, I think is just a great idea, because I think for many people, they'll just do the service they've always done.
Yeah.
This is the structure we've always done. This is the way it flows. 3 songs and a tag, and then let's do our offering and announcements, and then let's go into the message, and then let's have a little response, and then we're gone. Not telling you what we do here at Icon Church, by the way, there. But yeah. But I think it's just great to do that as well. Just thinking of this season as a leader, Eric, what's the greatest win for you at the moment?
Probably right now, people know their Bible. The theological challenges we are facing is so massive. People. It's kind of like moving into a home that's already furnished, or moving into a home that's unfurnished. For too long, the church has talked to furnished homes, that there's already a framework of biblical understanding that's been passed down generationally. We are now dealing with unfurnished homes that don't have this the kind of working understanding, and so for us, the big thing has just been like, people don't know how to read their Bible. They don't know how to understand the different texts. Okay, is this a narrative text? Is this poetry? Is this apocalyptic? And so we have really kind of leaned in, and we haven't solved it yet. That's the big focus for us, is going, do people know good theology? Because that's going to be the basis that's going to frame their worldview, and then that's going to actually help us build a really solid church. So even from message prep, like it's not really life coaching. One thing in America here, you get a lot of like spiritualized Tony Robbins, where it's like kind of like, hey, help you live your best life, but people don't understand why, and like, why should I trust the Bible? What are some of the doctrinal truths? And so one thing that we started doing is we incorporate the Apostles' Creed once a month in our service, where we do a public confession. I talk about the importance of confession. I talk about, hey, what you're seeing is a modern expression of an ancient faith, and we are stewards of this faith. And so we confess the Apostles' Creed, and it's amazing to me how many Gen Zers love it. They're like, this is awesome, right? Because this feels like weighty and serious, and just by adding the Apostles' Creed in, which I don't know what your congregants would, I'm sure I don't know if the Church of England does that. I know you guys aren't. Are you guys Church of England?
No.
No.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We do believe in it, which is brilliant. In fact, we do have it on our discipleship website.
Yep.
We've got a site called Follow Jesus. UK. Loads of practices on there. And we made sure we put the Apostles' Creed on there, and a bit of an explanation of why it's important. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that's honestly probably one of the most powerful moments in any of our services is we'll come out of a worship song, and then we'll go, hey, this is the Apostles' Creed. We're going to confess this together. If you're not a believer, or please don't feel obligated, but we're going to say this together. And then to get 400 people confessing that, it's moving. It's one of those things that's like, and it really kind of helps people go, okay. And it gives them a theological framework again of just little drips, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge that we're trying to figure out. And so one of the things that we're doing is with all of our leaders, we're calling it our killer P's, and basically we're detailing out. I can't do this with every person, but the people who've said, hey, I want to be on the dream team, I want to serve. So that's about 300 people in our church of going, okay, we are going to personally connect with you. We're going to personally develop you and personally disciple you. So we are basically building out a curriculum where we're going to do 15-minute talks, kind of videoed like this. And it's going to feel like the old school Sunday school, right? It's going to go, let's talk about the doctrine of sanctification. And we're not fluffing it up. We're not like, it's just meat and potatoes. And man, like our people love it because they want to know, they want to understand it. And then when you place value on them and then we discuss it, hey, okay, that personal connection. Okay. Hey, what did you think? What are some challenges? Do you have any questions? And we walk through with people like that. And so that's kind of one of the ways we're attacking that.
Great. Yeah. So good.
So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about this idea of the 15% rule. I know we've talked about this again offline, and I was quite interested when you're dealing with teams or leaders or volunteers, just this idea of the last 15%. I wonder if you could share that for us.
Well, one of my favorite quotes is by Marcus Aurelius that said, it's the organization of the non-obvious that leads to victory. And so where this idea, one of our values is we make our own juice. And so one Saturday I was making orange juice for my kids, and we were all doing it together. They wanted to do it. And their little hands, they could squeeze half an orange and it would make some juice. But then you got the tool, where you do the whole thing, you squeeze it, and that's where more juice came out. And I got this idea of going, it doesn't take a lot of effort to get to 80, 85%, right? You kind of look and you go, okay, well, this is obvious. We got to do this and we got to do this and we got to do this. But the non-obvious, or that last 10 to 15%, is really what makes it special. So again, a little small detail was, okay, our lobby is set up, and then I will sit with our team when they think everything is done, right? Okay, we did all this, and I go, okay, it's not done. And I, as a leader, have to do that and go, what else have we not thought about? And, there's usually 10 to 15 minutes of like, oh, well, I don't know. We got the check-in tables, we got this and all that kind of stuff. But typically what happens is somebody around the room will go, and so I'll give you an example for our lobby. They were like, yeah, we're sitting, it's been 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, no, we got to come up with something. Come on, let's think through it. Right. And it's being willing to sit in that for a minute and go, no, we got to think through this. And then one of the people go, well, what about the way it smells? And I was like, okay, let's get on that. And it was something that nobody had even thought of. Nobody had even noticed. And so we went, this is so cheesy. This is so low budget, but it's amazing what it does. We went and got plugins. And we got plugins from Walmart, which is our, I don't know, Asda. And so we went and got plugins and we plugged them in our lobby. And I'm not kidding you. We probably had 50 people that weekend go, man, it smells so nice in here. And that was an example of just the kind of the unconscious, you wouldn't even thought about it, but going, okay, what's that extra juice? What's that extra thing that we can do? Every service planning, I sit down, we go through the service, and I go, all right, what's the juice? Where are we when we look at our service, what's the extra thing? And again, that just becomes a development thing, right? Then your staff starts doing it, then your leaders, and you ask your leaders, hey, your volunteer leaders, okay, cool, you've thought through this, what's the juice? Where's the extra 10%? And that's usually the hardest. But it's the funny thing is, it's the thing that you thought of last is going to be the thing that your guest thinks of first, because they see it, and we find that on a regular basis. So,
yeah,
I love that.
The last 15%,
and I think,
Go on, go for it.
No, I'm just thinking, like, even when you're writing your message, and you've written your message, and you know how much a message is a labor of love, right? I mean, sometimes it's grueling. And then when you finally get to the conclusion, you've got the notes, you're done, and you're like, oh, okay, good. All right, I'll move on. It's done. It's cooked. But just maybe walking away from it for an hour or two, or coming back the next day and just going, all right, what's an illustration? What's a story? What's a point? What's a thought that maybe what didn't come to me initially? And let me just think through it. Let me just sit for 30 minutes and just think through maybe a little extra. And I find that when I do that, that just makes my messages maybe more clear. It makes me drive a point home in a more relatable way. You know, it's just a practice that just helps you, rather than going, all right, I've gotten written, boom, it's done, off to the next thing. Just sitting in it. Okay, wait, how can I link this a little bit more to mission or culture? Yeah.
No, it's so good. It's so good. And, just great principle, even people in their personal lives as well. Just that last 15%, because many times we just get on, I've done the thing, but actually there might be something a little bit extra that can happen. Go one more, or whatever it might be. We talked about being laser focused, and some of these things, obviously, that we've talked about, the practicalities or the cultural stuff within that, like the last 15%, creating that recipe for your Sunday services. Was there a cost to being laser focused, maybe for the church, but also for you as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there always is. But I just would encourage somebody, and I just want to say this before I get into that, that the reward typically is greater than the cost. And what that allows, when you're focused, there's always going to be the extra that you're not able to get to. I mentioned it earlier, and I'll just reference it again. There was a lot of families who had teenagers, but because we didn't have a youth group, basically said, hey, we're choosing to go somewhere else. And I said, listen, I love you. Totally get that. Not a problem. You've got to prioritize your teenagers. But what ended up happening, because we were so focused on Sunday and with our kids ministry, is that our younger kids exploded. It was like we ran out of kid space. And for us, it was kind of one of those things of, okay, this is a win. And now we've got all these kids in the pipeline. And as they get older, we're going to bring a youth pastor online. And then all these kids that have been in our church for 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to seamlessly move them in. Yeah. So for us being able to stay in that and go, okay, this is what we want to do. And what ends up happening is when you do launch it and you go, okay, we are now be able to add it, it fits in culturally. It fits in kind of to the groove, rather than just feeling like this bolt-on piece that doesn't really feel organic to your ministry. But you're doing it just because you want to do it. For me personally, I'm from a charismatic background, so like we talk about the gifts of the Spirit, we talk about the fullness of the Spirit. I knew I couldn't go there in the first few years of my church, so I was really laser focused on just building trust with my church before I took them into a space where a lot of people were going to go, okay, are we about to get weird? And I don't do it in a weird way. I'm not, but for me, I had to not speak on something that I was deeply passionate about and that was massively transformative in my life, because I knew I'm focused right now on building trust with my church, building up good biblical believers. And if I do that right, then when I go to this, there's going to be a level of trust there, and they're going to be willing to go with me. And we've seen that. And we just came out of a series. We called it Holy Roller, and we just took some fun with it, the old, oh, you're a holy roller, and had some fun. And we went there, and it was amazing to see people who came from, typical mainline denominations or had no framework of the power of the Holy Spirit in their life. And then we talked about that. It was like, so that focus allowed me to build really good trust at the cost of going, I'm going to hold off on this for a minute.
Yeah.
Very good.
No, very good.
And thinking of the transformation then, I mean, you've described a great transformation within the church over the last 3 years, going from 80 people to 950, a core team of 300 people who are strongly with you, all that stuff, brilliant. What emphasis did you place on communication, to bring about that transformation, and maybe even some of the practical things you did to make communication stick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we tried to leverage as many technology tools as possible. So we use Clearstream, which is a texting service, and we have a texting calendar. And so we text our whole church every week, and then we text our core team every week. So the whole church is, hey, here's what's coming up. And the core team is, here's the play of the day for the weekend. So we're regularly doing that. I asked all of my departments that they've got to do quarterly trainings or appreciations. So it's on the calendar. You've got to get your teams together to train and equip them or appreciate them. You got to pick. And so literally it's hot in Texas. I hear it's hot over there right now, but I think it's a different hot, guys. Let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But so I think our worship team, they're doing a pool party. And so and even when you're doing appreciation, vision and culture leaks in those things. And then you get the side conversations that it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this and this is cool. But making that like a standard was something that was really important. We instituted a dream team huddle. This isn't new. This isn't this isn't a new cool. Your guys have probably heard about that. But again, we detailed, okay, what is the huddle? So, it started out where it was like a mini message, whoever was given the huddle would give like a 5-7 minute sermon. And I was like, why are we giving them a 5 minute sermon when they're about to hit our 40-minute sermon? I said, a team huddle should feel like a locker room. Here's the objective. Here's the win. Here's what and so it became culture. It came like an actual huddle. Like here, okay, we're trying to focus on intentional conversations around the outreach event. So during the lobby, ask people, hey, are you coming to the outreach event? So it was very much like a play of the day, rather than like a motivational, hoorah. And what that did is, again, provided clarity for people. And you do that 52 times a year, your people start catching it, right? Here's why we do this. Here's a cultural behavior. This is, and always linking it to that. Probably the other thing is on a regular basis, I think one of the big things that kind of my generation and under struggle with is generosity and talking about giving. We regularly would share celebrations. And again, those communication moments from the platform communicate value. So probably once a quarter, I'll get up and I'll go, hey, can I just tell you how many people in the last 3 months have started giving here at Victory City Church? And again, it's a missional thing. And we go, I think the last number was 317 people have given to Victory City for the first time. Can we just celebrate? That's an amazing step. That's incredible, right? Or, hey, can I just tell you how many guests we've had in the past, quarter? We've had 200 guests. Are you kidding me? This is amazing. Thank you for inviting. So always thinking how am I dripping this, right? How's that IV drip just dropping in, and that's been pretty pivotal.
Very good.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of time left on our podcast today. We got one more question, and I think we'll do our quick fire questions. We'll probably not do them all, but we'll do a few of those quick fire questions. But I guess one of the things to ask is what are you most proud of, personally, as a leader in your leadership journey so far?
I saw this question and I've been thinking over it.
Yeah, good.
And I wanted to come up with a cooler answer, but I don't have one. Here's my answer: is that I'm still in it and I still love it.
That's
great.
I like that.
Ministry will kick your butt. Sorry.
It's good.
Okay. It will kick. Yeah. It'll kick you in the teeth. And it's one of those things of going, if you're still in it and you're still loving it, that's a win, man. That's a win. And I think what's helped is just me personally staying close to the Lord and, obviously keeping your relationship with God personally really, really close. But I think I just see so many really talented men and women and gifted and anointed, and you know, they throw the towel in. And yes, there's moments where God, has different plans for them, and that's amazing. But the idea of just running the race, man, and just stay in it, stay in the game. I know there's going to be levels, right? You're going to walk through a season where you feel like all I got is 30%. And I tell people all the time, 30% is better than zero. Stay in it, trust the Lord, lean in, get help. Especially on like the mental health. Like I'm a big thing, like get counseling, go to a counselor, like talk to somebody. You got to have somebody you can, and that's played a huge role in my life of just having somebody I can process with, because ministry's lonely, or it can deceive you into thinking it's lonely. But there's just so many people, like I'm sure you've got guys that if they called you and like, hey, can I grab a coffee with you? I'm just talking. You would go, yes, what's going on? How can I help you? How can I encourage you? And that goes back to that passage in the New Testament, man, where we carry one another's burdens. And so I would probably say that. Now I'm most proud of, and I see guys who are in it and they're still loving it and they're still going for it. And I'm like, yes, come on, man. Good on you.
Fantastic.
No.
Great answer. So we've got 4. We're going to pick 4.
Yeah, 2 each.
2 each.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 quick fire questions. They are quick. So
quick answers.
Quick answers.
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay.
I'll start with the top one. What's your favorite podcast and why? And you can't pick the Church Explained podcast because we know this is your favorite.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. Okay. Church Explained, second place. Honestly, I love Joe Rogan. I like listening to Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And why? Why? Because it helps me understand how the world thinks.
Yeah.
Like it helps me understand my audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you listened all the way through one of his podcasts, by the way? Because they're about 10 hours long, aren't
they? Some of them are.
Yeah, I have, but not in a single sitting.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Challenging. Very good. Can you recommend 2 of your books that you've enjoyed recently? And tell us about those.
Yeah, I've got some over here that I just. So here's one I'm enjoying right now. This is doing my head in. It's Aquinas Summa. This is super deep, but it is so good. It is like challenging me. It's like a 1 page a day book, right? Because it punches you in the face. The other one. Was built by Bill Hybels, which was just leadership. And I know Bill Hybels he's not a popular character now because of some of the things. But the way he talked about the local church, oh my goodness, like that's the hope of the world. I'm sitting on a plane from Jamaica on a mission trip reading that book, and I'm not a crier. I'm bawling my eyes out because I'm like, this is the freaking hope of the world. Let's go do this. Yeah. Who can, Satan's going to die. Type stuff.
Brilliant. Oh, good. Well, we'll change tack from Satan's going to die to if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Manchester, Tuesday night, Champions League game, Old Trafford. Glory, man. No, I'm kidding. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We'll cut that.
No. My wife and I, we love the UK. And so we've gone to London, we've gone to Bath. Like I love the culture, I love the banter, I love the personality. I've been to Italy, I've been to like the beach, a cold, rainy day at Stoke. That's a good day, right?
On a Tuesday night.
Tony Pulis.
Yes.
No, I love it. I love London. We went to there was a market, Borough Market, and in London, and we loved it. It was. Yeah, I just love it.
So,
awesome.
Von Chaser, here you come. Final question then is, if you could choose a superpower, what would you choose and why?
Yeah, I saw this one too. I'm going to go real Sunday school on you. I would want the same wisdom that Solomon had.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if God tells Solomon you can have anything and Solomon picks wisdom, there's probably a reason why. So like superpower wisdom. That'd be awesome. I know that's not fun,
Yeah, but you do get, hopefully, what Solomon got as well. He not only got wisdom, but he got the riches, didn't he?
He got everything. Got everything in, and a peaceful kingdom.
There we go. There we go.
So listen, Eric, it's been great to have you on the show. We've loved having you here. Just getting to know you a little bit and finding out some of your strategy about building church. Loads in there today.
Yeah, loads. Amazing.
So, thanks for being with us. How can people find you then if they want to connect?
Yeah, Instagram is great. Hit me up on Instagram. My email is emorris@victorycity.church. If they have any questions or if they want to see some of our stuff, I'm happy to share it. My cell number is 417-230-8529. Shoot me a text. I'd love to connect. However I can help pastors, man, leaders, I love it. I'm in it, and I want to see them win.
Great. No, it's so good, and it's been great to chat with you, Eric. Even though you're a Man United fan, I think this podcast has been amazing. And that's a wrap for the Church Explained podcast this time. It's been great to be together. And if you could rate, review, subscribe wherever you're consuming this content, and also share it with anyone you know that it will bless and help in their world. But that's been it for the Church Explained podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time.